The first thing that a homeless person loses is not their home, it's their dignity.
It's one of those things where, you try to make the best for your kids, and when you end up in a situation like this, it just makes you feel like you failed as a parent.
Life on the street in Chattanooga is a daily challenge for single people, but for parents with young children, it can be devastating. According to the people we talked to on 11th Street in the past year, many cities do not make any provision for unsheltered families, and when they do, they split them up. The McClellan Family and Children's Shelter on 11th Street provides shelter for up to 13 families at any one time. The families, some with 2 parents, some single mothers, and occasionally single fathers, almost all have children under 5 years old. Each family is allowed to stay together in the shelter for up to 3 months in a room with bunk beds and an ensuite bathroom. Within the 3 months they are living in the shelter, at least one parent is expected to find employment, and the CHATT Foundation will then help them find a home of their own.
We create a small sense of community in the shelter.
Rebecca Harkins, the program director for the McClellan Family Shelter for the past 6 months, is both a strict disciplinarian and a fierce advocate for the people in her care.
Basically, we try to create timed goals. For instance, if they're unemployed, we want to give them 2 weeks to find employment. So we set a standard to the goals that we create, and from there, we try to help them create their own normal while they're in the shelter.
We're not neighbors here. I don't want to say that we're strangers, because you get to know somebody, they become a person.
This is Robert. Like other families we talked to, Robert, his wife, and his children have not been able to rely on their own family for help.
It's incredible that you can go from not knowing anybody to inviting them out to go to the park or have yourselves a little cookout. Just even if it's hanging out front, just talking about your day. It's nice knowing that you can build that kind of relationship just out of nothing.
It's just a safe place for the kids to be.
Before moving into the shelter, Amber, along with her husband Jacob and their 3 children, were living in a tent on Signal Mountain.
Extra safety net, that safety net that we have. So we're still able to go out and do things at his family and whatnot, but we don't have to worry so much of like, where's our next meal coming from, what's the weather going to be like, and everything, can my kids stay healthy.
And a lot of the families that we get in our shelter, there are families that are just kind of experiencing kind of, episodic homelessness. So, maybe somebody lost a job and then they couldn't pay the rent and then got evicted and had no place to stay. So then they're coming and staying in the shelter, and then they're working on, finding some housing for them.
I do see a lot of change in the people that come in the shelter as far as when they're trying to work through the barriers and try to find some self-sufficiency. Oftentimes I see a lot of positive change. I usually see someone that is striving to find employment, striving to find housing. They are doing their chores at the shelter, and they are doing what is needed to stay in the shelter. I always see more of a positive side of the people that come through the shelter.
They're going to have inertia. They're going to have motivation. And if that's gone, it's hard to imagine any type of positive change.
I would say about 90% of the families that come through the shelter put in that work. They go out and find employment. They address their mental health concerns. They put their children in school. And then we have about 10% of families that they need a little bit of hand-holding.
Me personally, I'm thankful for the program that we're in and the help that we're getting now. But I don't know where we would be without this place.
On the Outside in Chattanooga is written and produced by Richard Winham and Mal O'Connell. For WUTC, I'm Mal O'Connell.